Imagine if I told you that there is a certain area of land in the world where its fertility is dependent upon the people that dwelled in that land. That would seem pretty preposterous, right? Agriculture doesn't work like that. Either a land is fertile or it isn't. It doesn't depend on which group of people inhabits the land. Can land really have some kind of direct relationship with the people living on it? Well, I have some news for you. Such a relationship does exist, and it's between the Jewish people and the land of Israel. Let me explain. When the Jewish people entered the land, even up until the time of Josephus, i.e. approximately 1300 years later, it was still very prosperous and fertile. Josephus wrote, "For the whole area is excellent for crops or pasturage, and rich in trees of every kind, so that by its fertility it invites even those least inclined to work on the land. In fact, every inch of it has been cultivated by the inhabitants, and not a parcel goes to waste. It is thickly covered with towns, and thanks to the natural abundance of the soil, the many villages are so densely populated that the smallest of them has more than 15,000 inhabitants. Indeed, according to the Torah, when entering the land, the Jews are told, 'God will bring you to a good land, a land flowing with streams and springs gushing out in the valley and the mountains. It is a land where you shall not eat your bread in rations.' But then they are also warned that if they mess up, God says, 'I will devastate the land, and your enemies who dwell in it will be desolate. You I will scatter among the nations at the point of my drawn sword, and your land will be completely desolate, and your cities will be in ruins.'" The basic idea is this. As long as the Jews are in the land of Israel, the land will be very fertile. However, as soon as a majority of the Jewish people leave the land or are expelled from the land, it's going to become desolate and inhospitable to all others who try to live there. Now, obviously, no scientist could ever begin to explain how a plot of land could only flourish for one particular people, but that's exactly what happened. No one living at that time 2,000 years ago would have been able to see how their blossoming land could suddenly turn desolate and remain so as long as Jews stayed in foreign lands. But exactly as predicted, 2,000 years ago the Jewish people were oppressed and exiled from their land by the Roman Empire. And so, what happened to the land's fertility? During the 2,000 years that the Jewish people were exiled, many empires and nations conquered its territory, and countless wars were fought for its possession. Indeed, the land is situated on the Fertile Crescent where 3 continents meet, a prime location for nations and empires to acquire. And yet, astonishingly, no conqueror succeeded in permanently settling there or in causing this desolate wasteland to blossom. Remarkably, the land became and remained desolate, despite all the odds. The medieval Jewish scholar Nachmanides, the Ramban, wrote in a letter to his son in 1260, quote, "The desolation is great. The more sacred the place, the more it has suffered." Mark Twain said on his visit to the land in 1867 that it is a desolate country whose soil is rich enough but is given over wholly to weeds, a silent, mournful expanse. Has this ever happened anywhere else in the world? The Europeans came to the US and took it over from the American Indians. Did the land's fertility suddenly change? No. If a land is fertile, it's fertile. If it's a desert, it's a desert. Not so with the land of Israel. Only there does the land become uninhabitable when the Jews are exiled. Obviously, we can see in hindsight how nation after nation squabbled over the land and never made it blossom. But how could anyone be bold enough to predict such an occurrence? How could they know in advance that it would happen? Why would they write that in their book? What guarantees do they have that it would happen? None. Now, remarkably, after many years of exile, the Torah states that the Jewish people will eventually return to the land of Israel, and with their return will be the miraculous physical rejuvenation of this desolate land. Quote, "And God will return your captured ones, and he will have compassion upon you, and he will gather you in from all the nations that God scattered you there." While Jews always maintained a presence in the land while most of their brethren were in exile, from the end of the 19th century, Jews began to return in large waves to the land of Israel. And by 1948, the State of Israel was declared a reality. This was an unprecedented event in human history. What other nation has returned to its land after such a long period of dispersion, minority population, and persecution? We are all witnesses to the fact that in less than 1 generation, the land of Israel has undergone an unbelievable transformation, from a desolate wasteland into a prosperous and blossoming land. Israel is a large exporter of fruits and vegetables around the world today. Israel has gone from a negligible population to about half the Jews in the world and counting. From the colonies of countless empires to a secure homeland for Jews across the world to return to. It's amazing. The land has responded to her people. Who could have predicted that such a phenomenon would take place? How could someone know 3,000 years ago that the land of Israel would only respond to the Jewish people? That when they leave the land en masse, its fertility will suddenly fall, despite nation after nation attempting to acquire it? And only when the Jews return will it finally become fertile again. Could such a human being take a risk by making this prophecy in the Torah? What if they got it wrong? What if some other nation did rebuild the land? To me, the history of the land of Israel's relationship with her people is testimony to the divine hand over human affairs. Today we are witness to an ancient prophecy becoming manifest. We are witness to what I personally think can only be described as the hand of God. Before we end, let me show you a quote from Professor Sir John William Dawson in his book Modern Science in Bible Lands. He said this in 1888. He said, quote, "Until today, no people has succeeded in establishing national dominion in the land of Israel. No national unity or spirit of nationalism has acquired any hold there. The mixed multitude of itinerant tribes that managed to settle there did so on lease, as temporary residents. It seems that they await the return of the permanent residents of the land." I'm Ollie Annisfeld, and you're watching JTV.
If you've made it so far in this video, I have a request for you. JTV has been having a really big impact in spreading the truth about Israel and creating positive associations with the Jewish people, Judaism, and Israel. We've really grown a lot, particularly in the last year, and we're having a really significant impact, both for Jews and non-Jews. But I really want to take JTV to the next level so we can start to compete with the other big online media beasts that are often peddling anti-Israel content. And the way we're going to do that is to scale even faster. So I'd love to build a team where we have other presenters doing shows like me, let's start doing documentaries, supplementary content, animated content, etc., etc. And to do that, I'd like to build a bit of a team. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one fundraising day, just one, where we try and build up some funding in order to fund such a team. Now, to do that, it's going to obviously require people to get involved. And I'm wondering if you would consider, if you're watching JTV content and appreciate what we do and want to help partner with us in taking this to the next level and spreading the truth farther and wider than ever before, I wonder if you'd consider partnering with us simply by running a mini page on the fundraiser that we do, where you just reach out to your contacts on that day that we choose to fundraise and see if they'll all chip in. If you'd be up for doing that, of which I would be so grateful, then please click on the Google form link in the video description of this video, where you can simply just put in a few contact details. It'll be a very small commitment, as I say, literally just one day that we'll all agree upon as a collective community. But the impact is going to be so big. There's such strength in numbers. If we all pull together and do this, we can take this to the next level. And as I say, all of us can partner together in bringing and spreading the truth to the whole world. So please do consider clicking on that link, filling in the form, and I'll be in touch very soon to talk about the next steps. Small commitment, but a big impact.
Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.